This is Andy Purewal for ID Boxing. We are here in London and I'm joined by Matt Macklin. Matt, obviously straight into it. Unfortunately, we had the news yesterday that the Queen had passed away. For ourselves, people working in the boxing industry, we was wondering whether or not that would impact the Shields Marshall show. Had the news a couple of hours ago that it has been postponed now until October 15th. Just want to get your initial reaction and your thoughts to today's events, the last 24 hours or so as well.
Yeah, well, from a personal point of view, I'm gutted because I was looking forward to the show. There'd been a great build-up all week, and particularly the two main event fights. I thought they were really tasty, and I thought they were going to be great fights. I think it was going to be a great event, groundbreaking, historic. So very disappointed that hasn't happened. But more than anything, you feel gutted for all the girls. They've all trained so hard. And it's just to be, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's no one's fault. It's just something that's happened that no one, could do anything about. Personally, I thought that all sporting events that were still, I think they could have just waited till Monday. Everything's going to close down then, I imagine. You got a bit of notice at least from Monday, start of a new week, and obviously when the funeral and everything goes ahead, there'll be national mourning and bank holiday and holidays and all that. But I think I thought it was a little bit rash that the Premier pulled out Premiership games, and obviously when they did then, I think everyone followed suit, didn't they?
There have been some sports which have said they're going to continue. So I believe part of rugby's going to be going on, cricket's still going to be going on over the weekend. Do you believe boxing could have continued if it wanted to, or do you think it was the right decision to pull out?
Yeah, well, I think it could have. I mean, I just think that, it's. I don't know. I just thought it's Friday, the fight's Saturday. It's from what I imagine. I don't know the protocol for all this, by the way, but I imagine from Monday it'll be a week of or 10 days of national mourning. And then obviously there'll be a funeral and everything next weekend, I guess. I think that's the time. Then obviously everything closes, and rightly so. But I just thought with it happening yesterday, and with everything being so far along with the show and other sporting events as well, there's a lot goes into putting these events together. A lot of organisation, a lot of travel, hotels, expense as well, and I just thought, they could have. I think this weekend, I think should have just carried on, and then everything should have stopped from Monday.
Obviously, the last 24 hours, so there's been a lot of uncertainty around the show until it was officially postponed. What have you made of it from that perspective? As a former fighter yourself, I'm sure you've had situations in your career where you've been maybe waiting for fights to be delayed or maybe expecting it, but in this scenario, how do you feel that everybody who was due to box has handled it from your knowledge?
No, I think everyone's been really professional from what I've heard, I know. It's difficult, if you imagine people hearing yesterday that it could be off, and then you've got what you're meant to be making weight in 24 hours. And that's hard at the best of times. When you're doing it, and you think I might be doing it in vain. I might even have to actually, I'm going to bed hungry and thirsty, and it might be for nothing. But it's just one of those things, isn't it? It was out of everyone's control, and it was just I suppose it was a game. It was a case of let's wait and see, because no one wants to make that decision until they absolutely have to as well. So they try and long it out to the last minute, hoping that they can still go ahead. No one wants to cancel anything, and no one wants to be the person to make that decision either. But I think when the Premier League pulled the plug, I think a lot, well, not all, but most of, or a lot of the other sports have followed their lead.
Earlier on in the day, we'd heard a couple of times that the weigh-in was being pushed back from 3 and then back to 1 p.m, then back to 3 p.m. As a fighter yourself, and again, looking at how the girls were, how do you think they would have kind of managed and coped with not being able to rehydrate and having to wait around to see if they were going to weigh in or not?
Yeah, that would have been a nightmare, because these things are very finely calculated. You want to take that water out at the last minute, so that you're dehydrated for as as short a period of time as possible, and then and then you want enough time to rehydrate. So, like, just just putting something back, weighing back 2 hours isn't like we're putting back going for a cup of tea for 2 hours. You know what I mean? That's a pretty, like, when you've cut your weight and then someone says, no, it's another 2 hours, like that's, that's a nightmare to hear that. But again, there's lots of things in play. Border Control are waiting to get a steer. Sky Sports are waiting to see what other sports are doing. And so it's frustrating for everyone, but it's not a decision that would have been made lightly. But yeah, for the fighters that are kind of bone dry at that point, waiting to get weighed in so they can rehydrate, difficult.
Final one, Matt. We know October 15th has been set as the provisional date. How would you expect everybody to try and get back into training mode and camp mode now? How would you, as a former fighter yourself, kind of prepare for it? Would you take a couple of days off? Would you like training for the next few? Just, look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, look, for the ones going back to America, they've got to fly back. There's the jet lag for a few days. There's a disappointment. Really probably take most of this next week off. Maybe have a little shakeout Thursday, Friday, light sessions. Maybe step it up a bit Saturday and then start properly on Monday. Then you've got 2 weeks. Or have you got 2 weeks? You've got 3 weeks then. So really you've got probably one good hard week. And then, maybe you're back over here again, tapering down. But, it just messes with all your weight. It messes with your sleeping patterns. I'm not the ones travelling from America now. But even the ones here that haven't got that time difference jet lag to contend with, I think, look, they're going to probably, I would probably take till Wednesday off. Do something like Wednesday, Thursday. Maybe have a good session Friday, Saturday, and then one good hard week. And then I'd start tapering down 2 weeks, maybe 10 days.
Right, Matt, we'll leave that there now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for speaking to me in ID Boxing.
Oh, you're welcome. Cheers.